Andrew, a few years ago, we came across a study on retiree satisfaction across the globe, and we're really shocked to find out that most cradle-to-grave retiree pension systems are not as popular as what we have here in the States or the UK. Is that true?
Oh, that's a really interesting kind of finding. I found a survey. It was from the Dutch bank ING that was done 2 years ago. And if you think about the retirement debate in the United States, is the argument is, our system of, relatively modest Social Security benefits and a lot of emphasis on private savings through 401ks. A lot of folks say that doesn't work. There's retirement crisis, people aren't saving enough. And what they want to go to is a system much closer to what you have in continental Europe, where there really isn't as much private household saving, but government pension benefits are more generous. And what was really interesting with the ING survey is they asked people, retirees in 13 different countries. And the question was, in retirement, my income and financial position let me enjoy the same standard living that I had when I was working. You could agree or disagree with that. The interesting thing is the US and the UK had the highest levels of agreement with people saying, yes, I'm retired and I can maintain my prior standard living. They had the highest levels of agreement among the countries surveyed by a pretty substantial margin. The lowest levels were places like France, where only 14% of retirees said they could maintain their standard living. Germany was only 26%. Italy was only 33%. If you look at the opposite of people saying, I'm really falling short, I really have a problem with my retirement income, it's not in the US or the UK or places that follow our model. It's in continental countries where government has responsibility for everything and individuals very little. And so it's a really interesting result. But when you look at the actual hard data on retirement savings, it kind of gives you a reason why. If you look in OECD data, they have figures on the level of retirement savings. Apologies. That in different countries people have in private retirement plans. The level of assets in private retirement plans in the US, UK, countries like that are much, much higher than the typical OECD country. The US level of retirement plan assets is over twice as high as the median country, much higher again if you go to places like France. So it's the reality is we save more than these other countries. We actually work longer, we delay retirement, we have much higher incomes in retirement. Other OECD data show, they look at the disposable incomes that retirees have. The US, the median, which is your typical retiree, has the highest disposable income in the world. So it's not just higher than Canada or whatever, although they're quite good, but higher than places like Switzerland or France or Germany. I mean, the disposable income of the median U.S. retiree is 40% higher than in France. So it's not surprising then that most retirees in the U.S. say, yeah, I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah, understood. So what we were shocked to find, though, is that from a retirement security question, that the U.S. and the U.K. rated higher than France and many of the Scandinavian countries. But it really comes down to, again, I think people will push back and say, well, it's a coverage issue.
Well, I don't know. These are surveys of all retirees. It's not of. My apologies on this. It is not a question of just looking at people who happen to have pensions or 401ks. This is looking at everyone. And so it's the typical U.S. retiree. If you just ask them, and you can find multiple surveys on this, not just comparing different countries, but you can look at Gallup, where they ask retirees, do you have enough money to live comfortably? 80% of U.S. retirees will tell you they do. So the critics of the U.S. retirement system is sort of they won't take yes for an answer. If they want to find out how retirees are doing, partly you could look at the hard data, but you could simply ask people. In a recent Fed survey, only 5% of U.S. retirees, even during COVID, said they're finding it hard to make ends meet. So it's what is shown in the data, whether it's subjective data like surveys or objective data like OECD data, is the U.S. retirement system really works very well.
Well, that's the thing, though, right? We might be doing better than other countries. Does that mean that really any retirement system is ideal at this point? I guess a better way to ask it is the old, debate: do we have a retirement crisis in this country?
Oh, not at all. And this is it. I mean, I was on a panel recently for a conference. I don't want to put words in people's mouth. I think it was an economist from the Rand Corporation out in California. He's one of the most respected researchers of retirement issues, and he just said outright, I think this idea of a retirement crisis is highly, highly overstated. And just again, another example from an opinion survey. Vanguard asked retirees, do you think America faces a retirement crisis? And half of them say, yes, we do. But then they say, would you describe your own financial situation as a retirement crisis? And only 5% of people do. So the reality is that people, there is a sort of a personality trait called like declensionism or hell in a handbag, where we think everything is getting worse. But if you look at the data, it's just not a story like that. So, if you just look objectively and say, what do we need to do to have a secure retirement? Well, you need to have people who are saving for retirement. More people are saving more for retirement than ever before because of 401ks. We need people to delay retirement, to work longer. We're doing that. We delay retirement, we delay claiming Social Security benefits, higher labor supply at older ages. And finally, you need good demographics for your Social Security system. Our demographics are much better than most places in the rest of the world. So we've got the ingredients there. People say it's working. I think a lot of it is there's just people who are very uncomfortable with the idea that individuals are going to be making choices for themselves, that they have responsibility for themselves. And I know there's problems that go with that. I know all the behavioral econ research. At the same time, though, there's pros to it. People are more willing to save if they feel they have ownership and control over it. Under other circumstances, they don't want to do it.
But Social Security is a very popular government program, and it's one of the only government programs that can really claim that mantle. Should we at least maybe expand Social Security? I mean, is there some kind of middle ground between what happens overseas and what happens here?
Well, I think expanding Social Security at the bottom end kind of makes sense because look, we've got a range of social problems in the U.S. To the degree you have a coverage problem for 401ks or other retirement plans, it's among lower income workers. Look, we're a rich country. It's not expensive for us to effectively eliminate poverty in old age. A place like Australia does that. They really have a strong guarantee against poverty in old age. But for middle and upper income workers, the question is, should they pay more into Social Security so they can get higher benefits, or should they just pay more into their IRA or 401k and do that? I commissioned a poll question a year or so ago asking exactly that question. I asked people, if you wanted to increase your retirement income, would you rather pay more into Social Security and get more Social Security benefits, or would you rather pay more into your 401k and get more out of that? By a 3-to-1 margin, Americans preferred to pay more into their own retirement account because they just feel more comfortable with it. We've heard for ages, the Social Security Trust Fund's been spent on other things. Social Security, we've known for 30 years has been insolvent. The Congress doesn't do anything to solve it. To be honest, only a fool is going to say, I'd rather pay into that than pay into their own retirement plan. It doesn't mean we don't need Social Security. It doesn't mean Social Security shouldn't be improved. But at the margin, for a middle or upper income person, all they need to do is save more. And most of them are already doing it.
Understood. Andrew Biggs, that's exactly what we needed. Thank you so much for joining us. I do appreciate it.
Hey, happy to be with you. Thank you very much.